and someone who probably wishes he could have a glass of wine right now, even though he has been a lifelong teetotaler, is Donald Trump. Now, of course, today was the day that the first criminal trial he is facing has gone to court. The trial has begun, and this is for the hush money that was paid to Stormy Daniels. Now, we know how this story has gone. He apparently had an affair with Stormy Daniels, who is a porn actress. His lawyer then paid a sum of money to Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 presidential election to try and keep her quiet. She then later said that the NDA she had signed was illegitimate because Trump himself had never signed it, and on it has gone. Now, you would think, well, big deal. I mean, he did the horizontal foxtrot with a porn star. Who really cares about that? And I'm not sure people really do, because this is a show trial. But what New York says, and this is going on in New York City, which is, of course, the home of Donald Trump, New York says, oh, but, you know, it was influencing the 2016 election. If only people had known that Donald Trump had sex with a porn star, the result of the election might be different. I don't think so. They also allege that he tried to cover up the spending of that hush money by falsifying business records. Again, big deal. You can go and shoot someone in the middle of Times Square and get less time than you'd get for most white-collar crime. But we know the point of all of this, of course, is it's not a trial really about whether or not he did anything wrong in terms of using that money or covering it up. It's a trial of Donald Trump's character. They're doing everything they can, the left in the US, to try and impugn Donald Trump's character. And get this, he can't even go to his son Barron's graduation because they'll lock him up if he does.
As you know, my son is graduating from high school, and it looks like the judge will not let me go to the graduation of my son, who's worked very, very hard. He's a great student, and he's very proud of the fact that he did so well. And I was looking forward for years to have graduation with his mother and father there. And it looks like the judges are going to allow me to escape this scam. It's a scam trial. If you read all of the legal pundits, all of the legal scholars today, there's not one that I see that said this is a case that should be brought or tried. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt.
Now, of all the upcoming criminal trials, I think there's 4 of them, this is undoubtedly the weakest one of all. I don't think there's anyone, unless they're, you know, blindly politically opposed to Trump, who looks at that and goes, oh, yeah, this is a really big issue. Gee, he paid some money to a porn star. He can never be president again. They want him locked up. But the beauty is that even if he gets locked up, he can still run for president and he can still win the presidency and pardon himself.
Well, I mean, they expect this trial to go for 6 weeks, and Trump is required to be in court for the duration. So I guess the Democrats figure that removes him from the campaign, although they perhaps haven't taken into account he'll be on national television every single night for 6 weeks as this trial continues. And as you say, Caleb, everybody knows that Donald Trump seems to be a womaniser. So the Democrats are trying to get salacious details of other Trump affairs and interactions with women, including that famous Access Hollywood tape recording where Trump talks about how he can grope women because he's a star and women love to be groped by stars. And all of that is salacious and horrible. But as you said, everybody knows this about Trump, so it's not new. But what we're learning is just the lengths to which Democrats will go to corrupt the legal system in order to achieve their political purposes. And so I think this will be a case of the Democrats being hoisted by their own petard.
Well, certainly they're doing nothing to hide it. We heard from Trump's legal spokeswoman, Alina Habba, today. She was speaking to many people online, just doing the usual podcasts and that kind of thing, getting the word out to the Conservatives, because that's all we've got these days. Thank God for Elon Musk. But that's how they get the word out these days to their followers. And she was explaining how today, as the jury was being picked, they weren't allowed to ask the question of potential jury members, how do you vote? Now, given this is the state of New York, it's a pretty blue state. And so she was making the point that they could even have people who are working on the Biden campaign who will be selected for the jury because the judge has, for reasons of his own making, already shown his hand in how biased he is by ruling that question out. Because, of course, they're trying to get a least biased jury. No jury is completely unbiased, but they're trying to do their best to at least get a mix, get a measure of sense, as opposed to just being an entirely blue jury where they're just like, well, we might as well just pack up and go home now. And so you've seen from the very outset, the trial isn't yet underway. The jury isn't yet decided. It's only narrowed down to 96 people at the moment. But that has already, as Alina said today, really shot Team Trump in the foot because it all comes down to what the jury decides at the end of the day, and they haven't been able to, so far to be able to pick off the ones that really shouldn't get to sit in on this.
Well, didn't half the jurors, even before selection began, admit that they were unable to be impartial and therefore should not be considered?
Oh, they probably just wanted to go back to work.
6 weeks is a long time.
Most people.
I don't know. Do you remember that juror from a previous Trump trial where she was so excited that she got to say things about Donald Trump and pronounce things and then went on talk shows? So I don't know. If you're going to do jury duty, this would be the one you'd want to be on, isn't it?
Well, I don't know what their deals are like there either in terms of how much you get paid. Does your employer have to fit the bill? It would differ from state to state. So, again, I don't know what the dealio is in the state of New York.
But see, the thing is, it's a bit like the trial of Bruce Lerman, to talk about a man who's in the news at the moment, of course, who, we know nothing ever happened there because there was a mistrial. But I couldn't understand how in a situation like that, a story that was so well publicised, how particularly in the ACT, you would ever find a jury that was made up of people who had no preconception about that case whatsoever. And it's the same with Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is not only one of the most recognisable men in New York, not only one of the most recognisable men in the United States, he's one of the most recognisable men in the world. And by his very nature, he is a divisive man. If there is someone in the US who doesn't have a single thought about Donald Trump, particularly in New York, I would like to meet them. How, in that case, do you ever form a jury that doesn't go in there with a preconceived notion about Trump? And I know the rules are you're meant to leave all that at the door. But let's be serious here. This is the question of whether or not you can get Trump in jail before the presidential election. There's a lot at stake there. So if you have a thought that you like Donald Trump, well, you already know what your verdict's going to be. And if you don't like Donald Trump, you already know what your verdict's going to be. If they can find those people, I'll eat my hat. I just don't think it's possible.
But, I mean, every American knows the only reason this is being tried is because Trump is running for the president.
Yeah,
exactly.
If he was not running again, there's no way this would be in court. And so no matter the verdict, every reasonable person is going to say the bigger problem than Trump paying out some money to a porn star to try and keep her quiet about an affair.
That part's not even illegal.
Right.
The hush money isn't illegal.
He falsified some documents.
Falsifying some documents is only a misdemeanour. They're weaponising it. They're turning this into a felony by saying, but that was all done with a view to influence the 2016 election, which I'm like, well, there's a certain laptop that a lot of people worked very hard to cover up, but we don't see any of those dragged before the court. And heaven knows, given what was on Hunter Biden's laptop after it all came out, if anyone's going to be in court, it should be those guys. That would have swayed an election result in 2020, 100%.
So surely mainstream America will say, what's worse, a guy who hushed up a porn star or a guy, i.e. Biden and his administration, who will stop at nothing to destroy their opponent, even to the point of bringing trumped-up charges, and whoever invented the term trumped up.
Yeah, I know you've made
way ahead of the game. I don't know who that is, but they deserve... we need to ask Kel Richards who that was. But,
yeah. Walk us back, Kel. I'm sure he can if he would.